Hello viewers, welcome back to the most mobile auto repair channel, and today we're working on a 2012 Toyota Corolla with the 1.8 liter engine. And today the customer's complaint is that there's an unintended ABS and traction control activation when coming to a stop at stop signs. And so every once in a while the ABS is kicking in even on dry pavements when it should not kick in. And so today we are going to have a look at it. First off, I already did my preliminary checks, checking the tires and the suspension and all of that. This vehicle is equipped with winter tires, and so this vehicle is always having an unintended ABS activation. You could feel the pulsation or vibration in the brake pedal every time you come to a slow speed stop, usually either from 40 kilometers an hour and down, or 20 kilometers an hour and down from there. So I'm going to analyze all four wheels on the scan tool to check the wheel speed sensors to see on what they are reading. I already had a look at the ABS control module for any trouble codes, and I didn't see any codes stored. So this is a no code or a no fault issue. It's an intermittent problem that's happening every now and then. Now the customer today is getting more concerned because it's happening more often, despite the fact that we've had already a small snowstorm a couple days ago, but even the pavement is dry and it's not icy or anything like that. Sometimes the ABS is still kicking in, even though when it's not supposed to. So now I'm just going for a road test and monitoring each of the wheel speed sensors on all four wheels and trying to see on which one is dropping out. Just recently we had a small snowstorm a couple days ago, and now it just started to snow again. This is unrelated to the snow and ice. So there's an intermittent ABS. There's an intermittent ABS traction control unintended activation when that happens. So I'm just monitoring the wheel speed sensors. I will put the screenshot of the wheel speed sensor as I'm driving so you guys can see that. So far all of the wheel speed sensors are reading as they should. So I have to monitor and see on which wheel speed sensor or which wheel is dropping out first. And that would be the suspected sensor or wheel. That would be the suspected wheel that's causing the problem. Now this only happens at slow speed stops, or when stopping at stop signs, or when coming to a stop at the traffic light. So I'm going to keep driving now and just keep on checking the wheel speed. Unfortunately, there are no trouble codes stored in the system, so I'm just trying to see if there's actually anything wrong or not with this vehicle. But the customer has been complaining that the ABS and traction control has been coming on more often, despite the fact that there's snow and ice here. But even when the pavement is dry or very light rain, it still happens. So at that stop sign over there, it happens more often. The customer lives like 5 minutes away from me. Only happens at that stop sign usually. It's very hard to tell because it's very like minor. So I'm suspecting that it has to be in the front wheels somewhere. Usually it's not the rear wheels, so I'm probably gonna have a look at the front wheels and just have a look at the sensor, see if there's any rust buildup or anything, and just go from there. It typically always happens at that stop sign over there, more or less. So it's very hard to duplicate it sometimes, but that's what the customer's complaint is. Let's see if I can go in the parking lot, see if I can get this to happen. Nice empty parking lot, but it's covered in snow and ice, so you can't do this on a turn because the wheels will be at different speeds while turning. In some cases you may need to graph it, but it's hard to tell sometimes just by looking at the data PIDs or parameter IDs. Even when the surface is dry, the issue still happens. The ABS activates at stop signs. So right now it's a little snow, a little bit of snow and ice, but the issue is even when it's dry, it's still activating. I don't know if there's an actual issue, or if it's because at some spots there are uneven road surfaces or pavement. So that could also cause the ABS to trip, but that would be a normal condition. So I'm going to head back to the garage now and just go from there. I'll probably have a look at the wheel speed sensors. So right now I have both of the front wheels taken off. I removed the wheel speed sensor for the right front. I could see a little bit of rust build up on this, but I really don't know if that's a big cause of the issue, but I will clean up the sensor on this side and on the other side, and we'll see on what happens after that. And I'll probably clean out the rust and everything that's in there. This sensor came out relatively easy. It wasn't too bad. It just had a 10 millimeter bolt. So I'm going to have a look at the other sensor on the left front too. And you probably want to inspect the tone ring teeth to see if that's okay. So we're going to have a look at the other side. And the best thing to do is just to have a quick visual inspection on the wiring harness. See if there's any like chafing or anything, because that could cause some issues. If you look closely here on the harness, you see it's the rubber, I think. I don't know if that's deteriorating or not. I see some marks on the wiring here. So I don't know if that's a problem or not. One other thing you can do is to remove the splash shield and to inspect the harness and everything to check for resistance values. But at this moment we're not getting any code, so I'm just probably going to see if I can do a quick clean of the sensor and recheck it then. So this one is a 10 millimeter, so I'm gonna take this out. The other side came out relatively easy. So we'll have a look at this side. This one also came out relatively easy. There's just a little bit of build-up on the sensor here. So we'll probably clean it up. See if that does anything, or at least helps with the issue. And it's probably also best to check the tone ring, make sure that all the teeth are good before you rotate the brake rotor, the wheel. Make sure the sensor is out of the way, so you can keep on spinning this to inspect it and just go from there. Make sure the tone ring is okay. These tone rings are mounted against the axle, the CV axle, so you want to make sure it's not chipped or broken or loose or anything like that, because that could cause problems too. I don't see anything in this case, so we're probably just going to clean down the rust and just go from there. Now, sometimes even a tiny bit of rust buildup can cause problems, so we'll see on what happens. We'll clean the sensor out. There's a little bit of dirt on the magnetic wheel speed sensor, so we'll try to clean it out and clean the inside here and see on what happens. So I'm probably going to use a wire brush of some sort, attaching it to the drill, or you can use like a smaller design, a flap wheel. This is a 80 grit. They call it a flap wheel for cleaning rust. So this one is too big to fit inside the hole, so you will need a smaller one than this. You can see here that it's too large to fit inside the opening to clean the rust. So you can use a smaller one, and this would also work too. So either this or a wire brush. The the bristle brush or whatever also works. So I'm going to see if this works by using the drill. You want to be careful not to go too deep, because otherwise you will damage the teeth on the tone ring. You don't want to go too overboard with the cleaning. You just want to try to get most of the rust out. It's not going to be perfect. You also want to clean the rust on the outer surface here, because too much rust here will cause an air gap in between the sensors. So you want to make sure you clean that out. Sometimes you can use a screwdriver to clean the rust out from here. You can use a wire wheel or a wire brush to clean the outer surface on the outside. Just be careful not to damage the CV boot. So once you're done cleaning, it doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but as long as all the rust is out, we're going to spray it down with some brake cleaner to clean everything down. And you'll have to spin the brake rotor to clean the remainder of all of the dirt. Keep on spinning it to clean everything out on the tone ring. And sometimes you can get a screwdriver in there. Now if you don't want to do this, you can just disconnect the lower ball joint from the control arm and remove the axle nut, and you can pop the outer part of the CV axle and clean it then if you want. But it's up to you if you have the time. But if you don't have to do it if you don't want to. It will give you a better view of the tone ring when you get the axle out, because it's attached to the axle. So I'm just going to keep on spraying down with some brake cleaner now. So now we are going to clean the sensor, the wheel speed sensor, and see if it helps after when I do a road test. After I'm all finished with this, I'm just going to clean this off. I already checked the steering and suspension for any loose wheel bearings or anything like that. I wasn't able to find anything. Everything is nice and tight. So I'm just going to grab a shop towel to clean that up. It's imperative that you clean absolutely everything from this sensor. I like to start with the cheaper methods first before doing anything else. The sensor is still working. It could just be that there's dirt and stuff that's causing some issues on this. The rust here, I don't think is gonna be a big issue with the with that in trying to mount that inside the steering knuckle. Should be fine. You could spray some maybe like penetrating oil or something onto this if you want to get rid of the surface rust. Spraying some brake cleaner to clean the debris out. So what we are going to do is to put a little bit of dielectric grease just on the outside. You don't want to put too much, just to help prevent rust and to be able to slide this in back through without any problems. And I'm going to put some dielectric grease on the bolt too. You can use DTCs or something. So we're just going to reinstall the sensor. Install the bolt. These bolts don't need to be on very tight, but I will post the torque specs if you want to torque it. Make sure it's seated all the way in before you tighten these down. And earlier, before I remove this, if you want to, you can make a mark somewhere to position it exactly the same way and where it was, but you don't have to, but it's a good thing to do if you want to do that. So I'm just going to tighten down the bolt snug. Doesn't need to be on very tight. I'm guessing these things are no more than 8 to 10 foot-pounds maybe at most. You don't want to crack the sensor or anything. So that's that. I'm going to repeat on the other side, on the right front, and then later I'm going to put the wheels on and just go from there. So make sure that you inspect the mounting surfaces after it's installed. Make sure there's no like gap or anything, and you want to make sure everything is installed properly, and you want to be able to spin the wheel too. I'm just going to turn this. Make sure that you can spin the wheel without any issues. I didn't mention earlier, but before you do this, you should probably inspect the steering and suspension first. Make sure everything is nice and tight. Wheel bearing is tight and is not making any noise. The axles are good. Make sure there isn't anything like broken or loose components, and that's it. But on this car, everything seems to be okay, so I don't see anything wrong. So I'm just doing the other side now. One other thing I forgot to mention is that you could use an air blower afterwards if you want to clean out and to dry up the brake cleaner, or you can just let it evaporate. In some cases, there could be a lot of rust build up on the surface of the axle itself, in which the tone ring is mounted on, and that could cause issues too, but you really don't know. So sometimes the inner surface in between the knuckle and the axle sometimes can build up rust there, but it's very hard to tell. You won't know until you remove the axles. So, but for the time being, I'm just cleaning up the sensors and just seeing if there's any improvement after that. So after I made the video and after I did the repair, I actually ordered several flap wheels for future uses for working on cars. And so I got an assorted pack of flap wheels because I want to use them in the future. So I got a smaller one. I think it's a 16 millimeter in diameter, and this is an aftermarket steering knuckle for the same vehicle. This also fits a variety of model year Corollas. So I just had this laying around. You can see the opening for the wheel speed sensor hole. So if you get like a flat wheel and attach it to like a drill or something, or to your die grinder, you would be able to clean this out easily, because this piece is able to fit inside the opening, so you'll be able to clean the rust that's built up on the inside. So after I did the cleaning and I put everything all back together, I went for a road test again, and I was not able to duplicate the issue again. So I will leave this vehicle with the customer, and I will follow up with them in the next a couple days or a few days or so to see on how it is, if there's any improvement. I think it's better now because I was not able to duplicate the issue on my second road test. So the reason why I only did the front sensors, because the front sensors are more susceptible to wear and tear and rust and things like that, and more problems because the wheels are always turning all the time. And also the sensor in which I showed you earlier that has the ribbed mark on it, that's normal. That's the design of the OEM sensor, so that's normal. The rear wheel speed sensors are not actually serviceable. It's part of the hub assembly for both rears, and so you can't really exactly replace it. I've seen some replacement parts for just replacing the rear sensor, but it's mounted on the back of the hub or something, so I don't really think it can be serviced. You probably have to replace the whole hub, but the rear wheels don't turn, and in a majority of cases it won't be the rear wheels that's dropping out. And I checked on the scan tool, I couldn't see anything. It's they were the front sensors. It was more so on the right front, I think, than the left front. I saw some rust particles and buildup a tiny bit on the magnetic sensor. So I cleaned it up. We'll see on what happens. We'll see how things go. And that's going to be it for this one. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please don't forget to give it a like, and please consider subscribing to my channel if you're not already a subscriber, and please don't forget to hit that bell notification if you guys haven't done so. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day and take care.